I'm starting. Oh, broadcast is started. All right, everyone. Hi, welcome to the PaperBadger monthly project call. So this one's really exciting because it's our last push towards our final MVP, which we hope to release September 1st. So my name's Abby. I'm lead developer from the Mozilla Science Lab. I'm calling from beautiful Toronto. It's the Pan Am Games right now here. It's a lot of fun. So if you guys can put your name in the roll call. And I'll introduce a couple of people that are speaking today. So first, actually, is Laura from Orchid, one of our partners with this project. So Laura, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Hi, I'm thrilled to be here. I think this project is so much fun, and I'm really excited that we're doing it. I know that, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to talk about, but but I'm excited, and I can add any future stuff later, I guess.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Sorry to put you on the spot. We also have Amy on the call. Amy's from BMC. So do you want to say something, Amy?
I also don't know what to say. It's an exciting project.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited about your sketches I saw on GitHub.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to be a designer. Yeah. We also have Austin. I put you in the schedule. You don't actually have to say things when we get there because I didn't know if you were going to join. But yeah, if you want to say hi, that would be great. Okay.
Hello.
Fun fact, Austin defended his PhD yesterday, so now he's Dr. Austin. So congrats.
Congrats.
Yeah. So Austin's been one of the major contributors for our testing suite especially. And I'm excited to see so many people on this call. I think we're going to have a good conversation. So if you guys are new to the project, I think people are, sorry. You can add yourself under new volunteers and sort of tell us what you're interested in and what you're what you'd like to do, just so we can get an idea of who you guys are, and then we can work together. Yay! And there's a link on line 41 on contributing to projects in GitHub. So a lot of people that come to this project, they're new to GitHub, so that will be helpful for you guys. So project update, contributorship badges. So we're testing ways to sort of add digital credentials to scholarly publications. So I'm going to share my screen actually to show you guys what we have now. Which one will I share? This one. Share. Okay. Here we are. So can you guys see my screen? Yeah. Okay. So this is the roadmap. I'll go back here. So we're on my local host now. So I'm going to show this both for as an update for what we've been working on lately. So we're exploring the use of digital badges for crediting contributors to scholarly papers for their work. So sometimes papers have a whole long list of authors and so many people who've contributed. So this way people can get a badge for exactly what they did. So if they did the data analysis, they'll get a badge for that. If they did if they did data curation or they provided resources, we have badges for that. So these badges are based on a 14-row taxonomy from Castry. And so this is our landing page. These are our badges. We're working on the design. We'll be talking about that later. And we have these different endpoints. So you can see all the badges we have. If you click on them here, you'll see it in JSON. So this is my local host right now, but you can go, I'll show you the real one, paperbadger.herokuapp.com. I think the link is in the etherpad. I'll show you my local host, though. And what we have been working on lately, so there's a pull request out for this right now. It's currently under review. But this is for the publisher side. So publisher would come in here, and this is how they would say, we have a new paper that's ready for badges. So they'll put in the paper DOI, and then a list of author emails, one in each line. Then when they submit this, it will send each author an email, which will take them to this page, which forces them to log in through Orchid. So I'll do that now. Then when I come back, I'm logged in there. It will pre-fill the paper DOI. That's another thing we have to do for this last release that the publisher originally put in. Then the author goes through. This is currently, we need to redesign this, but now you can select multiple badges that you did on this paper. So I did all of these. I wrote the software for these, and I supervised people. And then I click submit, and then it will. Oh, I forget if my local host is working right now. Yeah, it's not working right now. Sorry, I was testing things. So this is a bit different from what we had last time. If you log in here, you only could select one badge. So we're working on changing, yeah, so we want to make it as easy as possible for authors to select their badges. So this might be nicer if we had like images, if it was a grid. So yeah, we'll be working on that throughout this last month. Yeah, and then they have badges. And the idea is eventually we'll have those badges appear both on, I can stop sharing my screen, I guess. They'll appear both on the paper side. So if people go to BMC and look at the paper, they'll see beside the author list, like each badge that those authors got or were awarded. Yeah, and also on their Orchid page. So if you go and see the person, you'll see what badges they got for each of the papers that's there. So we've been working on the design for those two parts and figuring out how to best integrate with our API to do that. So that's a quick update of what we've been up to. And in our roadmap. So I'll go over our roadmap now. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. Picking which screen to share. Is it this? Yeah. So in our roadmap, for the new people, a good place to jump in are the good first bugs. So actually, we'll just look at what we have right now. If people know Travis, we just need to add the encrypted variables to Travis, because right now we just put them in Travis in the settings, but our pull requests weren't able to run the tests. So that's something someone can do. Write new tests. So we need to make sure emails get deleted from our return values, because we don't want to be. So we have a little bit of a hack to use our badges system, and we don't want these emails to be returned. And then this is actually a really good one for someone who is just new to this project and is interested in getting involved. There's a bug where the word badges should turn into the word users. And it's on the line linked. Oh, it changed. Okay, so this link is a little old, but yeah, if someone wants to do this, this is a great first bug. I'll help you through it. So if someone knows JavaScript and wants to help out there, that would be awesome. Big thing we've been working on design issues with designing the badges, the interface for the authors, which I showed you. We need to upgrade that a little bit. The interface for the publishers, which we just made. And then, oh yeah, this is just the design for how the whole flow works. And more code and discussions. We need input on a lot of things. Specifically, we need input. Oh yes, and how we're going to do the testing. We'll talk about a lot of these in our different topics today. So go back here. So yeah, this is a design one. What will the badges look like on paper? The badge issuing process. So I showed you these ones, the interfaces for the authors and the publishers. Some testing work and project setup work. So these are the ones we were hoping to be done for this call. We got work done on all of them. They're not all finished though, but I think it's a good start because we don't have too much to do before we launch in September 1st. So then it's making the snippets so that these appear on the publisher side and the Orchid side, and then the whole process, and then using the Orchid production server. So actually we'll move on to the next, I'll stop screen sharing. But if we move on to the next item here with Laura, with Orchid. So right now I showed you guys how I was able to log in and authenticate through Orchid, but that's on the Orchid staging server right now. So we need to move this to production for MVP so that we can start testing it out with real users and real data. So Laura, how do we do that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that we have to kind of work out. So the first part is if how we're what kinds of permissions we're trying to exchange in that. If we're just trying to exchange you know, an authentication so that we know which person it is and just find out what their Orchid ID is, that's something we can do right away. But I think this implementation does a little bit extra for that. So we're just working through what it means for signing up, because that requires our membership agreement, unfortunately. Yeah. And we just need to figure out like how we get that done. So that's kind of non-technical, but there's a piece there that we're still trying to work out. Once that's all worked out, then we can issue the production credentials, the member version of the production credentials, and then the next question is about how we display the badges on Orchid. And I know that I guess there's like a similar project on how they would be displayed on publisher sites.
Yeah.
So I think they're kind of related to each other. But there's a couple of ways that we could do the integration. So we need to do a little bit of a little trial of, like, does it make sense for us to push works, push them to the Orchid record as our work, so that there's one that comes from PaperBadger, or if it's something that we interrogate the badges URL, the badges interface in order to get badges and determine if there are badges available for that Orchid ID and DOI combination. I think those are kind of the two big areas, and on Orchid side, the challenge for us is finding the time in our development timeline to make sure that we are able to meet the September 1 timeframe. So we're trying to figure that out. We've been trying to finish up a couple of other projects.
Yeah.
Full disclosure. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's significant amounts of work that needs to be done, especially if we take one approach versus another, the approach of pushing things into the Orchid record. But we have to figure those out.
Okay. Yeah. So I think the biggest thing we need is the production credentials. Because we can push things back. So on the roadmap, we actually have pushing to Orchid happening later on, like not for the MVP.
It has to do with what permissions are being requested from Orchid. If it's just authenticating and getting an authenticated Orchid ID, we can do that today. So I can just we can walk through the process of doing that. That's really,
Yeah. Okay, that might be easier for the MVP at least, and then we can work out things later on for pushing things over.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, that's a good plan, I think. So we're not working too much before September. Thank you so much for all the work you guys have done. I know Rob did a lot for setting up our authentication, and Will learned React for this. So that was really nice. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so that sort of merges with the design questions we have next with Amy, since you were talking about Laura was talking about how the badges will show up in Orchid. I think for our MVP, we'll focus on having them show up on the publisher side. So Amy, I know you commented on a lot of those issues. Do you have anything you want to update us with the badge design?
So we put forward those to be honest, I'm actually kind of confused at what the badges should look like, because I see plus and minuses to the original badges we designed. But one of the big minuses is just on a practical level, how would those integrate with the sort of the affiliation author name kind of area of each article? And so that's why I really liked those just basic circles you put, the colored circles. I think that would work quite well. But also because I thought whatever we do, it would be very nice to make it look like it could integrate with any publisher site and not just us. Yeah, that's about all I have.
Yeah, I'm just sharing my screen right now. So this is what I drew, just using colored circles beside each author name, similar to how the institution works, just on the other side. The biggest problem I saw with this is that an author could potentially have 14 circles in their name if they did every single role on that paper, which could get unwieldy, but maybe in practice no one will do that. They'll all have like 1 or 5. Yeah. But yeah, for reference, for context, this is the original assets we had. I think software changed, so that's why we didn't have it. But I really like how they look, and as badges, they look really nice. But yeah, scaling it down, I thought that would be really hard. So then Amy suggested looking at Stack Overflow, where they have like tiny dots with the words beside it, which yeah, I think was in the right direction. So this is what we have now, and we have input from a couple designers. There's yeah, Jess and Ricardo. So they're willing to review whatever we come up with. But if there's any other discussion, I know all the people on this call have looked at papers. So if you have any idea of how this should be integrated, yeah, let us. I'd love to hear from you now, or you can comment on this issue here.
So one thing that that we've been doing at Orchid is exploring the concept of a person citation and using the badge or using the, I guess, the contributor role names within the context of those citations. Now that citations by their nature are textual or text, and
Yeah.
so they don't really have that component of the badge itself. But what I can do is I'll add a screenshot or a picture of a slide that we've done
Okay.
for that, and maybe that will help generate some additional ideas.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I think yeah, if there's a way to keep as much information about the badge, because the circle does very little, while like displaying it minimally, would be useful. So we can also think about like maybe hovering over the badge, and we'll see more, or lots of different. The web is fun and dynamic. We have lots of options.
Did we also, I remember almost a year ago, talking about this, and did we say the badges were going to link out to Orchid, or was that, is that what you were thinking with the little circles, or is that maybe not this version?
I don't remember that conversation.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't there. I think that makes a lot of sense actually, linking it to Orchid. In my like sketch, I had the badge itself linked to the definition on Casrai, and then the username linked to Orchid. I don't know if you are currently. Oh yeah, Caitlin, do you have any input on that?
I think the thing that we were speaking of, and this might be a slightly different way of looking at it, is to find some way for assigning the badge to also link to Orchid in terms of just having that data, like almost thinking of it as a data object, to have that be recognized, so that people didn't have to submit that in both places. So like instead of going and manually entering those into Orchid, that by assigning those terms and also assigning what that was pointing to within the paper, that there would be some way of getting that to move, whether that's the actual visual representation or just kind of recognition of that data package. Again, I don't know how difficult that might be on the baseline based on the API.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's back to what we were talking about earlier with pushing the badges over to Orchid or keeping it here for now. So we'll, I think if we push the badges to Orchid, then it makes a lot of sense to link to Orchid since we'll have that badge data. So we can think about that, maybe not for the MVP, because September's coming soon. But yeah, that's a good point. Laura, did you have anything to say on that? Or sorry, someone raised their hand. I don't know who this is. I can't see your names. Hi, Cameron. Hello.
This is not relevant for the MVP, but it strikes me that this is an example of a larger class of problems about relationships between identifiers, and so I don't have a solution or anything. But what you're actually talking about is, I think, a reified claim about the relationship. A claim about a relationship between a reified identifier of an Orchid and a DOI to an identifier associated with a badge. And so thinking about the data modeling of this might actually be quite important, because there's going to be, these things are going to start flowing from objects in the articles, like resources and materials, plus data sets, plus other things.
Yeah.
So just thinking really carefully about exactly how that's modeled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point, Cameron. We're actually, we're using the BadgeKit API, so we're using the Open Badge standard to model that. So it's assigned to the Orchid, and then the DOI is linked as evidence on there. Yeah, so hopefully by using the Open Badge standard, this will help us with problems down the road that we're talking about with sharing the data around. but yeah, it's going to be tricky to figure out where we store everything. Having it stored centrally is nice, but then I think it makes a lot of sense for Orchid to have some of this information. So we'll see, should they store the whole open badge model, or I don't know, we'll see. Lots of questions, not relevant for MVP. Cool. Okay, yeah, there's some questions. The design size issue is quite common problem across a lot of, oh yeah, for articles. Worth trying to connect with other things like licensing, signaling. Daniel Mixon at Wikimedia. Okay, yeah, oh, this was also Cameron who wrote this, I think. Yeah, thank you. Also, Amy, I know the Rachel hasn't called in yet, but do you have any information on like the best way for us to integrate with you? Because we just talked about making a snippet that will generate a little image for that.
Hi,
Yeah.
this is Rachel.
Oh,
I am
Rachel
on
is
the
here.
line. Hi.
Good to hear you, Rachel. Welcome.
Hi. I know very little about the project, so I can't give you any information on implementation at all just yet.
Okay, that's fine. But if we gave you a JavaScript snippet that generated maybe in an iframe or something for a paper, all the badges and which authors they're assigned to, would that be easy to integrate into your system, or would you want something else?
Yeah, in theory that would work.
Okay.
I probably want to talk to you offline with one of the front-end developers and just
Yeah,
dig
yeah.
a bit deeper into. We don't really go for iframes, but
Yeah, I understand. You probably can do it outside of an iframe, but
yeah, we prefer to.
Yeah, so you can make some sort of widget. That'll probably be the easiest, I think.
Yeah, that would
to send
that
it
would
to
be
you.
good.
Okay,
Yeah,
because we do have an API, but we can provide that for you. So I'll sync with you offline, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I'm glad you're on this call. Thank you
Cool.
for joining. So I isn't on the line, but Austin, I don't know if you've thought more about our testing environment, but do you have any suggestions on what we should do there? Because I think having local testing might be overblown, but we'll see.
Are you talking about the local testing of the API, or?
Yeah, of the API. So I know I wants to get on writing tests for the API.
I mean, as long as you have a running test server that you can break and not have to worry about, then it's probably fine.
Okay. Yeah, because we can just set up the BadgeKit API. We can just duplicate that and call it our test server.
Yeah.
Pretty easily. Okay, so I'll put that on my to-do. Oh, I don't have to-do, Abby. Duplicate BadgeKit API. Okay. Yeah, because I think running it locally might... There's a lot of stuff in BadgeKit API that might be really, really hard to do. And then I's not here, but he did a ton of work. So I is a developer at BMC. He did a ton of work refactoring our code. You can look at it here, but I won't. Oh, sorry, at line 105. I forgot I wasn't sharing my screen. Yeah, I won't go through that, but it's great work. So thank you, I, wherever you are. Then outstanding pull requests. Oh, and yeah, so right now we have the stuff that I demoed earlier is outstanding. So Ali is reviewing it right now, so he gave good input. And then I gave great input, because originally I had, so you can have multiple authors write a paper, so I would have them add dynamically the inputs, and then I was like, why don't you just have a text area? Then you can just add a list of authors on a new line each. It's like, oh, that's way smarter and way easier to implement. So thank you for all your feedback, everyone, on that. So now I'd like to sort of talk to the new people on this call. So I don't know, Brian Hole introduced himself under new developers. I don't know if he's on this call.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Hey, Brian.
I don't know how to raise my hand, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I don't know how to do that either. I was really impressed people did it here.
I know, I'm impressed.
But yeah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm from Ubiquity Press, and we were sort of quite interested in this right back at the very inception of the project, and somehow we sort of dropped out a little bit. But I'd quite like to get us involved again.
Okay.
It's quite in parallel with something we've been trying to do, which is to get badges for peer reviewers. So I think that being involved in the MVP would be quite a good first step for us there. And we'd be really happy to test this on our journal system.
Okay, yeah.
And that might be something related to checking that it looks good on a range of publishers' websites.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, we'd be very keen to be looped in there.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
At a later stage, if you want to start looking at possibly expanding it out to peer reviewers, etc., then we'd like to really be involved there more deeply with the development effort as well.
Yeah, I think there actually is a badge for review. I think it's called writing review, though, so it's a little ambiguous. But yeah, that could make a lot of sense.
Yeah, this is something we could implement really quickly. So
yeah.
we're quite happy to.
Cool. Brian, Orchid is also doing work on peer review from the another cancer rate project that's kind of, I guess it's similar to the way the project credit was created with these contributor roles, where peer review citations were described. The fields for describing peer review were described. So I'm going to add I'll add a link under my name for where to get more information about that project if you're interested.
No, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. That's useful. I know there's a couple other new people on the call. Alex.
Sure. So I'm actually not a programmer at all. The group I work with is more interested in, once it's released, the adoption of badges. I'm calling from UC Berkeley, from a center here at UC Berkeley called BITS. And we are interested in promoting transparency within the social sciences. And as part of that is how to actually get published. But then once you do get published, we're interested in there being wider dissemination of publication results, and for publication results to be more accessible to people who might not be at universities. So we're interested in both those things.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Alex. We also have Cameron. I know you spoke already, Cameron, but do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I can do that. So I'm Cameron Allen. I'm currently basically between things. I was interested in the project for a couple of reasons. One is that I've been working with Jeff Builder and Jennifer Lynn, thinking about this question of, once we can, as we start building up this ecosystem of claims or relationships between identifiers, then how can we think about the infrastructures that might allow people to work on that in general? And so this is an important case of that. And also the other thing I'm working on is trying to think, using some frameworks from economics methodology as to what kind of incentives make communities come together. And so identification around badges and around badging is an element of that, which is quite interesting as a case study. That's kind of my interest. And just catching up, because I've kind of, again, been vaguely touched on the project at various different stages, but
yeah.
Well.
Yeah, and it's great to have your input here. So thanks for joining, Cameron. I realized we never introduced Caitlin Thaney, the director of the Science Lab. So if you want to say hi, Caitlin.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm just lurking, supporting, seeing what I can do to help, and also just serving as the main person to start to record some of this stuff. So thanks, everyone, for joining.
Thanks, Caitlin. I don't know if Andrew is on the chat here or if he's just in the Etherpad. Andrew, are you here? No. And Sarah? Is Sarah Bowman here? Okay, that's fine. But yeah, it was great hearing from you guys. I think we'll go through the roadmap now and just figure out what we're doing before the next call so that we can report things. So I'm going to share my screen again. This button. Form, I think this one. No, that's the wrong. Sorry, I have a lot of browsers open. I probably shouldn't have done that. Okay, to our roadmap. Issue 17. So, yeah, so we've been talking about the design, so thanks for your input there. We'll continue that so that hopefully we can start implementing in a couple weeks. So we'll lock down a design yeah, in the next 2 weeks, I think, so that we can implement and start integrating with the publishers. Badge issuing process. So I've been working on this together with Ali, so we'll continue working on these things with React and the front end to make sure they all run smoothly and work properly. That way, publishers and authors will be able to work together to get badges issued. So testing, I know Austin and I have been working a lot on this. Are you guys good to, oh yeah, so I will set up a test server. Then I'm hoping, Austin, you and I can work together and make some tests for us and fix these last couple issues we have here. So is that okay, Austin? Okay. Yeah, you've defended. You have free time, right? Yeah.
A bit.
I know, job hunting. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for your help here. And the tests are super important to make sure that we're not leaking people's information or doing something silly. Travis, for setup variables, if any new person wants to jump in there. Then yeah, once we have the design down, we can start creating these snippets that will integrate with the publishers. This is part of the earlier one with the badge issuing process. So this is actual functions that will send emails to the authors so that they know that they can go to the site and issue badges for themselves. Getting on production, so we already talked about that with Laura, so hopefully that will be done before our MVP. And these enhancements. All right, so I'll be working with the badge kit maintainers to make sure that they work well with us. So we have a couple special cases that wasn't in the original spec. So originally they thought that these badges should only be issued to email addresses, but academics change their email all the time whenever they switch institutions. So that's why we thought it would be much better to issue against an Orchid. So we have a couple workarounds. So it does work right now, but we want it to work a little bit better. So we'll be doing that before the MVP. And then we launch, yay! So we hope to have a project that will let the publishers send us new info in a paper manually. We won't try to integrate with their system just yet. So that's why we have that form. Then the authors will get an email and they'll select their roles and claim the badges for each role that they contributed. So that was the other form we had with that whole big checklist of different badges they could use. And then these badges will appear on the online versions of the paper. Maybe not the Orchid yet, since we're figuring out about pushing back, but we want them to appear somewhere. So we'll test that out. So then we'll see people issuing badges and then, viewing it online. Post MVP is integrating with the journal system, pushing back to Orchid. So I think these things will be needed to have this project sort of run in the long term. But we don't quite need it for just to test things out yet. So that's why they're not set for September 1st. And so that's our plan. So I think I'll stop sharing. I think we're on track to do that. I have nothing else to say. Sorry, it's a bit of a short call. So does anyone else have any questions or any comments where they're stuck or where they need help with the project? You can raise your hand or just talk.
So I just added, I updated that issue with information about the public credentials, and I'll add I added it in the Etherpad, but I'll add the link to the person citation stuff that we've done so far to that other issue. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for this. This is really helpful. I wasn't sure if I was scribing everything properly from you. Thanks, Laura. Okay. Any other notes from anyone else?
I had one question, sorry. When are these going to publish, most likely? When are these going to launch?
So we're hoping for MVP to launch September 1st, but then we'll have to, it'll probably launch with the select publishers, obviously, and whatever papers they want to test this on, because the publisher has to manually input the information. So so it'll be a small launch, September 1st. Yeah.
Cool.
To test things out, but yeah. Thanks, Alex. Any other questions? All right, so I guess this is a short call. Oh, there's more. Okay, sorry, I wasn't reading the chat this whole time, and I just noticed there's stuff in there. but it's from a while ago. So, oh no, it's from recently. Let's see it again. Okay, so a bit of a short call. Thanks for joining. Now you have an extra 20 minutes of your life back. Yay. So I'll see you guys in a month when hopefully we'll have most of these things done and we'll just be doing the last finishing touches before we launch. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Abby.
Bye.
Stopping the broadcast.